All right, welcome to the PWHT podcast, a show dedicated to helping hockey families navigate the journey of off-ice training and preparation. I'm Dr. Zach Rourke, founder of PWHT, and I'm here to answer your questions and provide actionable tips to help you reach your potential. Each episode is going to be bite-sized, just 10 to 15 minutes, and we're going to pack it with information that you can start using today. As always, if you have a question that you want answered, reach out to us via Instagram at PWHTMN. Today we're going to talk about the best way to maintain muscle mass during the in-season. Many of our athletes from youth to the professional level struggle to keep weight on during the season. By the end of today's episode, you'll know what mistakes to avoid, what areas to focus on in order to maintain your muscle mass throughout the season. Okay, here's the PWHT tip of the day focused on maintaining muscle mass throughout the season. I don't think the first part is going to come as a surprise. Maybe the second part will. That depends on if you've been paying attention to the other parts of this series. But the first part is eat more. That seems pretty straightforward. The second part is train less. And that's kind of been a theme throughout all of these podcasts and articles that we've been trying to put out for the in-season management. And that's because people tend to underestimate how much of a training load the actual season of practices and games is itself. Okay, let me explain. So a lot of athletes struggle with keeping weight on during the season, and they lose muscle mass. And obviously that's a problem. We don't want to do that. So why would you lose muscle mass? Well, there's sort of two reasons that you would lose muscle mass. One would be you're not using your muscles. So if you don't use your muscles, muscles are really costly to maintain for your body. And so if you're not using them, your body says, hey, let's not spend the number of calories that it takes to upkeep these muscles. Let's just get rid of them. That doesn't happen to hockey players in season. You're not going to run into muscle atrophy from lack of use if you're skating 6-7 times throughout the week. It's just not going to happen. Okay. The second reason that you would lose muscle is a lack of caloric support. So you're not eating enough calories. Well, muscle is still expensive to maintain. If you don't have enough calories to maintain it, then your body has to make the hard choice to reduce the amount of muscle that you have. And you can just think of it sort of as a bank account. A sort of general formula here is that 1 pound of muscle costs about 50 calories per day just to maintain, not to use it. So that's not like the calories that you're burning while you're training or anything, or playing or competing. It's just to maintain it, just to keep the integrity of the muscle. So if you're not eating enough calories to support just the muscle maintenance, plus the amount of activity that you're doing on top of that, then your body is going to see that, hey, we keep running a deficit, and so we need to get rid of some of this muscle mass, even though you're using it every day. So the solution, if the issue is that you're not taking in enough calories, you need to eat more calories, right? And if the issue is that you're burning too many calories, then you need to burn fewer calories. And so we can sort of approach this from both ends. So the first part is eat more. Okay, when it comes to eating more, what should I eat? That's going to be the immediate question. For supporting and maintaining muscle, you're going to need protein. And a simple rule for protein is 1 gram of protein per pound of body weight that you have, right? So if you're 180 pounds, eat 180 grams of protein per day. If you're 130 grams of protein per day. That's a pretty generic, simple rule. You always want to hit that protein number every day. The second thing that you need to do is eat carbs, okay? I know that there are a lot of athletes that are worried about their weight in both directions. They don't want to lose weight. They don't want to gain too much weight. They want to be the perfect weight, all that kind of thing. And especially athletes that are worried about getting fat, about gaining too much weight, they'll cut carbs because that's kind of a good strategy to lose weight if you're a non-athlete, right? That's what's being pushed in all the magazines and all that kind of stuff. If you want to change your figure and all that kind of thing. Everybody says, well, cut carbs, cut carbs, cut carbs. You can't do that if you're an athlete. And I had an athlete, he's playing in the NHL. We were training him all summer. And about midway through the summer, we kind of checked his performance numbers, and they were all terrible. Like, he wasn't really improving the way that we would expect. In fact, he was getting worse over the summer. And so I sat him down and we talked, and I was like, how's everything going at home? How are you sleeping? And we got to how are you eating? And he was like, oh, eating's going great. And I was like, okay, well, what do you mean by that? He said, I'm trying this new diet with my wife. She's trying to lose some baby weight, and so I decided I would get on it because, it's always good to be lean. It's the Whole30 diet. And in the Whole30 diet, we basically don't eat carbs. We don't eat breads, we don't eat pastas, we don't eat any kind of carbs that are outside of fruits and vegetables. Not to say fruits and vegetables are bad, that's great, but he needed way more carbs than his wife needed because he's a professional athlete. He's training twice a day, right? And so all that we did was we added carbs back into his diet. I said, you gotta start eating carbs again. And his performance numbers popped right back up, okay? So the first thing is eat 1 gram of protein per pound of body weight. And the second one is don't cut carbs. Now, I'm not giving you a number on carbs because that can vary pretty highly. What I've found practically is if I just tell athletes don't cut carbs, then they do a pretty good job. The only ones that really run into problems are the ones that are purposely trying to cut their carbs. And then the last piece of advice, and this is similar to the carbs issue, is if a lot of athletes today are really hyper-focused on getting everything exactly perfect, right? And so when it comes to their eating, they want to be clean and they want to be perfect, and they're eating all the best foods, and it's chicken and it's broccoli and it's brown rice and yada yada yada, and that's great. But if you look at the number of calories that a high school athlete actually needs on a daily basis, and you try to make that up of the healthiest, most perfect, cleanest foods, it's going to be really hard to get enough calories in. So this isn't to say, just go eat donuts every day, that kind of thing. But if you try to eat too clean, you might handcuff yourself, okay? Now, and you have to think that not only is a high school athlete expending a bunch of calories in their play, maintaining their muscle mass, they're also growing, right? And it takes a lot of calories to grow. So, me as a 36-year-old that, is not nearly as active as I used to be, I need to really watch my calories. I need to watch the type of eating that I'm doing. And if I don't eat clean, that's going to be a problem for me. If I think back to my 16, 17, 18-year-old self, I needed to be eating in a much less clean way just to support growth, okay? So when it comes to protein, 1 gram per pound of body weight. When it comes to carbs, eat them. And when it comes to having a perfect, super clean diet, I wouldn't recommend that for a high school athlete. That doesn't mean go crazy and just eat ice cream, 6 times a day, but certainly don't feel guilty when you are eating those more high calorie, less nutritious types of foods. Okay, that's the eat more side of thing. The expend fewer calories side of things, and if you've been paying attention, we just keep hammering this golden rule: 8 to 10 exposures in a week, 2 exposures in a day. Don't go over that, right? If you're already in that window, then you're training enough that you're going to continue to develop, and you're not training so much that you're going to overtrain. If you're over that window, that could be something that contributes to loss of muscle mass. We've already talked about how overtraining is going to lead to loss of explosivity. When you overtrain, everything goes just as wrong as it goes when you undertrain. Last thing, when it comes to nutrition, I gave you a couple cliff notes, kind of general ideas, but it can be more complicated than that. And if you're interested, professional help is always a great route to go. I have a ton of really good contacts based in the Twin Cities areas. So where nutrition is not my wheelhouse, I'm happy to connect you with somebody that can do a great job of helping you out with all the details and specifics. Just reach out to me at PWHTMN. We'll get you connected. To summarize, in-season muscle mass loss is almost always going to be due to insufficient calories. It's not going to be from a lack of training. So don't try to go do bodybuilding workouts and go lift a bunch of weights in order to add mass during the season. It is the wrong time to be doing that. Instead, eat more, and then we said train less, but what we really mean by that is stay within the golden rule when it comes to training in order to preserve muscle mass. And you're gonna wanna make sure that you're at 1 gram of protein per pound per day. Continue to eat carbs, and don't let clean eating limit the amount of calories that you take in. All right, that's what I have for you today. If you're looking to learn more about how you can achieve your hockey goals, visit us at perfectworldhockey.com. While you're there, you'll find more podcast episodes, articles, and resources to help support your hockey journey. If you're interested in taking your training to the next level, you can also schedule a consultation. We'd love to learn more about your goals and see how we can help you with your off-ice development. Follow us on Instagram or YouTube at PWHTMN to join the conversation and connect with the PWHT family. Thanks for listening, and I'll see you next time on the PWHT podcast.